But really, that entire day of shrooming while skiing was really just a setup and a pregame for the big day of skiing on Saturday, where me and several other guys in our group, we all did like full tabs of acid before like
Wow.
hiking up to the lift and getting on the mountain. And bro, let me tell you, this was hands down the best day of skiing I have ever had. And the funniest part is that we barely did any damn skiing on this day. This is modern day Hippie. We are your homies who've done nearly every drug under the sun. Over 600 psychedelic trips and nearly every kind of bender you can possibly imagine have armed us with a universe of knowledge. I'm Yuki, and with my co-host Reggie, we talk about how we do drugs in a responsible, safe, and fun way to improve our lives. Before we dive in, and so we don't get sued, a quick legal disclaimer.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal is to educate and inform others about the realities of substance use in an engaging and entertaining format. We share these experiences so you can learn from them without trying them yourself. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to attempt to recreate anything found in this episode or in any of our other content. We are not confessing to any acts stated in this podcast. The content in this episode should not be treated as factual or real in any way.
With that, we welcome you through our portal and hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, hippies? Hope you're having a vibey day today. I'm Reggie, joined by my co-host Yuki. And Yuki, you tell me that you just came back from a pretty crazy trip, huh?
Yes, sir. I did indeed. I was just on a 4-day ski trip to Park City, Utah. And this wasn't just any ski trip. There were quite a few factors that made it, I'd say, an above average experience. Part of it being a liberal amount of drug use, let's say, both on the slopes and in the après ski, like partying after skiing, essentially. And dude, it was a freaking blast. Like between the group of people I was there with, the experiences that we had, and dude, let me tell you, I laughed like some of the hardest, deepest, like deadliest laughs I've ever had, bro. Like, you have those laughs when you can't breathe and you're like collapsing, and it's so
the evil
good.
Villain laughs,
dude.
The shrooms laughs.
Oh my god!
Well, I guess this was acid. You said, damn, that's fucking sick. And actually, Park City, dude, you went back to Park City. Throwback to our Park City episode,
dude. So I was actually gonna say, yeah, throwback to our Park City episode. And actually around that time when Reggie and I were living in Park City, there was one night that we went out into Park City for dinner with our group of homies. And I don't know if you remember, Reggie, but we went to this bar/restaurant called The Cabin, where we got a bunch of stickers.
Yeah, I remember that place.
Remember that spot? Well, I had totally just ejected the existence of that place from my memory. Like, I forgot it existed. And lo and behold, one of the nights that our group went out for dinner, we went to dinner for a place that was right next door to The Cabin. And I saw the sign, and all these memories of our Park City adventures just came rushing back. I was like, man, A, I forgot this place exists. And B, like, this is such a hearkening back to a different time in our lives when we were still sipping, we were still having a good time, but definitely very, very different stage in life at that time.
Dude, yeah. We were like a lot newer to it too, I feel like, compared to now.
Dude, yeah, we were green in the gills back then. It's been what, like 3.5 years at this point. So, I mean, that's been well more than half of you and I's time. I think consistently using psychedelics, experimenting with drugs, stuff like that. So,
yeah, damn, that's wild.
As far as the story, you want to start with the skiing part of it or the non-skiing part of it? Because we'll get to both of them, but there's good value here.
Whatever you want to start with. I'm really curious about both, honestly.
All right. We'll start with the skiing since that was the theme of the trip here. So let's see. I got in 3 days of skiing. Day 1, I went totally sober. I was like, I want to ski by myself. I want to just like explore as much of the mountain as possible. I don't have to wait on anyone. Just like do my own thing. That was great. You know, Reggie, how much I love skiing. Like, this is what I love to do around this time of year. So
yeah, for real.
All right. Now cut to day 2. Day 2, I was like, all right, I went really ham the day before. Today I'm down to like vibe a little bit more. And so the way I was vibing was I skied with like 1 or 2 other friends throughout the day. And we each did a small amount of shrooms. And the shrooms were solid, but I've learned that for me, the analogy of mushrooms puts you in the passenger seat, where the mushroom is at the wheel driving you. And beyond that, like, I don't feel like I have as much control over it. So in a setting like that, where you're on a mountain and I want to be skiing and, you know, make the most of these like handful of days I have, I didn't want to take too many shrooms because I knew that like my inertia would be too high. And funny enough, at some point during that day, I like stopped at one of the lodges for food, and dude, I was just having such a nice chill time. Like, I had eaten this like really healthy salad. I was like reading a few pages of a book on my phone. And dude, I was like, man, I'm enjoying just like being outside, like reading my ebook. And I was having a good time, but I thought it was ironic. I'm like, I'm on top of a mountain. I should be skiing at like 50 miles an hour right now, not reading a fucking book on this mountain.
Oh my God.
But like the inertia was there, but I got myself up. And when I was actually skiing, like it was an absolute blast.
How much did you take?
Yeah, I took like 1.5-ish grams worth. So nothing crazy. Like, I definitely felt it. Nice. I was definitely vibing, but it wasn't anything too major.
And was it like raw mushrooms or like chocolates or what?
I went with the chocolates just because it was easy to ingest on the slopes, because I took it like after my first hour or two of skiing. And honestly, I'm grateful for the amount of experience that I've built up with mushrooms to know myself well enough to know that like that is my ideal dose for a setting like this, where it's definitely a little bit more involved and intense than just like going for a chill hike out of nature. Like, you are in a mountain, like part of the day was kind of blizzarding.
It's pretty dangerous, like objectively.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And also if you fuck around too much on skiing, like you can get seriously hurt. So this is not for the faint of heart. I will say that day there weren't crazy lift lines, but when there were lines, the mushrooms made it a good bit more entertaining to wait in the line. So I was grateful for that. Yeah. But really, that entire day of shrooming while skiing was really just a setup and a pregame for the big day of skiing on Saturday, where me and several other guys in our group, we all did like full tabs of acid before like hiking up to the lift and getting on the mountain. And bro, let me tell you, this was hands down the best day of skiing I have ever had. And the funniest part is that we barely did any damn skiing on this day. It was by no fault of our own. Like, this was Saturday, so definitely the busiest day of the week. Like, the lift lines were insane. Like, we're talking 30 plus minutes just to get on a lift. And this was also a day that this big snowstorm was rolling through. So I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a snowstorm that rolled through the West Coast and through Tahoe that literally dumped like 9 or 10 feet in like 24 hours, essentially.
Of snow?
Yeah. Yes.
9 or 10 feet? Dude, that's ridiculous to me. I don't know shit about snow, but that just sounds like absolutely bonkers. Like,
it's
can you ski through that?
No. So the Saturday, the storm was mainly hitting like the Tahoe area, and it's such a danger and such liability that the resorts were closed that entire day. Like, it is just not sustainable. Like, you can't drive, you can't get around. It's not safe for like the staff at the resort. It's not safe for ski patrol. So not even to mention it's not safe for just, you know, fucking tourists there for like a couple of days, just like trying to get some turns in on the slopes. So that storm, like the edges started to hit us where we were in Utah as well. And we weren't getting anything close to like 10 feet of snow, but I would say that day we probably got a good, like, I don't know, let's say like 1.5 to 2 feet. But it wasn't like, you know, nice powdery snow. Like, it was straight up blizzarding. Like, it was windy. The wind was just like slamming the snow into you. And it was like a cold freaking day. And so combine that with the lift lines that were made even longer because the winds were so high that any of the lifts above like that first layer at the base of the mountain, the resort had to close because it's just not safe. Like, the wind is just way too high to actually be on the ski lift. And even on the lower level lifts, there were times where like, I swear you could see a gust of wind like building and coming at you because it would carry the snowfall with it. And you just get pelted. And it was at a point where I'm like, dude, it's not safe for us to be up here. So
and you guys were tripping still? Or
yes. So what ended up happening?
Dude, fuck that.
Dude.
Like,
no, dude, honestly.
For real, fuck that.
It was intense, but it was also a blast. So
I'm sure the visuals were insane, dude, with the snow being carried through the wind and shit. Like,
yeah. And honestly, even better than that was that like, this was my main day for skiing, like with the group. And we took our acid, I want to say around like 8:30 a.m. So like solid day trip. It's like, that's the time that we were like leaving our Airbnb to like head up to the lift for the first run. And as we're like waiting in line, getting our first run in, we all start coming up on the acid. And dude, you remember how when we went to Six Flags, and if you guys haven't heard that story, it's a fantastic one that we'll link below. You remember how when we were tripping, it's like the tripping was like pretty fun when we were on the rides themselves, but the most fun was us just bullshitting and gooning in line with our group of homies. That was the best
part of Six Flags on acid and shrooms, dude, I guess. We took
exactly. And so, dude, this was the exact same situation. Like, we were just cracking like the silliest, stupidest jokes, and like we're all, like my buddy laughing makes me laugh. And even though we're in line for 30 to 45 minutes, most people around us, I think, are pretty miserable because it's cold and they're waiting. We're like, nah, dude, we're so entertained. We don't really feel cold. And we were like bundled up well, granted, but like, our temperature receptors were not working as advertised. And dude, we just had a ball in this entire day. I think we skied maybe like 4 runs, which is not a lot, but we had so much fun. And even when we were skiing down, like we weren't doing any crazy hard runs. Like we were just kind of doing some random fuck shit, like spinning around and just like tumbling around in the snow and just honestly just like
fun, dude. When's
just
the last
playing.
time you did that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to describe it, playing, bro.
Exactly. Yeah. And it felt so like freeing and like doing it with a great group of people who at the beginning of the trip, I knew almost no one in this group, like well at all. But by that point, by Saturday, like I'd made some really good homies, and just like further deepening like our friendship and just like having this experience together where like we're tripping and we're also kind of out here like battling the elements was such an incredible bonding experience. Like, hey hippies, we hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and are having a good time, you need to come over to YouTube and subscribe to the Modern Day Hippie YouTube channel. We publish exclusive video content, and I promise you the experience is richer and more interesting. So if you're getting any value at all, stop what you're doing, open up the YouTube app, and subscribe at Modern Day Hippie. If you're watching this on YouTube and aren't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go press subscribe. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show. We had a blast. And to be honest, like, because the timeline for acid was so long, like we were fully prepared to just like spend the day doing just that. And it was like,
wow,
we wouldn't have minded. And so we skied for a couple of hours, got those runs in. And then I want to say around like 11:30, we did get a little bit tired of waiting in lines. And like, especially because we had skied a few days before, like we had kind of gotten spoiled. And so like, I think we're all kind of in the mindset that like, oh, we've kind of gotten like our money's worth and we've gotten like our skis worth of time here. So we're like, let's go grab an early lunch. So we go to a lodge that's like basically empty because again, it's like, or it's off to like the side of the mountain, like off the beaten path, blizzardy day. And we get some food. And honestly, dude, this is one of the first times I can actively remember where like I actually like enjoyed eating food while tripping.
Dude, yeah, you're not an eater while tripping.
Yeah, dude, you guys know I usually hate eating when I'm tripping, or honestly on any kind of drug, to be honest.
Was it warm? Is that why?
Yeah, I got what did I end up getting? It wasn't anything too big. Oh, dude, I got a grilled cheese sandwich at this lodge.
Oh yeah, that would slap, dude.
And
in the cold,
hit the spot. Yeah. And granted, like also like when I'm skiing, I know that I'm like burning a lot more calories. So I'm like more willing to eat and I definitely get hungrier. And this was also like one of the first days that I was coming off of my like really bad food poisoning from my Mexico City trip like 2 weeks ago. So for almost 2 weeks straight, I was eating nothing but like applesauce and bread. And so I was ready to just eat some like real fucking food for once. And so like starting like Friday this past week, like I would just eat everything in sight because I was like making up for all the food I missed out on.
Damn.
For 2 freaking weeks.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Dude, it was fantastic.
And you did it without weed. That's the crazy part to me. Like,
yeah, right?
Because I feel like if I'm smoking weed, I could eat whatever and however much. But like, damn, dude, doing that shit sober or while tripping especially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we had that early lunch with our group. Like most of us were on acid. We're having a blast. And at that point, we all kind of agreed, like, all right, we're satisfied. Like, honestly, what sounds really nice right now is let's go back to our Airbnb. Let's post up in the hot tub and watch this storm like really roll in. And so we ski back down the mountain. We walk over to our Airbnb. We change. We get on our hot tub. And dude, the view from this Airbnb was freaking sick. I need to show you a
Oh
picture.
my God.
It's like, it's just it's an overlook of like Park City itself. Like you see the town below, and the hot tub is literally on the balcony. And as we're sitting in this hot tub, still tripping, still like vibing super well, we like watch the storm progressively get thicker and thicker to the point where like we were staying on the opposite side of this pretty narrow valley from like the ski resort where usually you can see skiers going down and stuff. Dude, it got to the point where we could not see the other side of the valley at all. And it's like really not that far away.
That's kind of cool though. Like seeing that shit while tripping, like, damn.
Yeah, no, dude, it was awesome. And we're just chilling in the hot tub. And granted, like the snow's like pelting us pretty hard, but we just hunker lower in the hot water. And dude, it was such a vibe. It was such a good time. I had an absolute blast, and it really made me appreciate the way that like shrooms versus acid affects me differently. Because if shrooms throws me into the passenger seat, with acid, I feel like I have so much more control, and it's like I'm having fun, but like I can like do what I want, and there's not that much activation energy required for me to like change what I'm doing, and I'm kind of more like down to like go with like the flow of my mind rather than like the flow of like where the shrooms want to take me. And obviously there's pros and cons to each.
That's pretty accurate. In my experience, like I recently did both acid and shrooms like separately. And I was literally thinking the same exact thing. I was like, man, I always thought that shrooms were like kind of more chill, but for some reason, like these most recent times, like I was way more in control with the acid than I was with the shrooms. And I think a big part of it was that I was like super sleep deprived and like food deprived when I took the shrooms. And I took like raw shrooms, which I hadn't taken in honestly a long time. So like you can imagine how that would just like hit me a lot harder than like acid, which like has more of a come up and a come down.
Yeah.
But damn, dude, like I like the way you phrased that, being in the passenger seat on shrooms and then like being in the driver's seat on acid.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take credit. I heard this from someone, I think at Burning Man. And since then, I thought that's been really the most like accurate and precise analogy for describing the differences between those two. And it also like, it reminded me that my previous acid trip was back in October, November. And I was like, I like to do acid a little bit more often than I currently do. I think now I'm at, I don't know, 2 to 3 times a year. And like, I really enjoy the experience. So I think I'm going to try to make a little bit more time for it, or just be more willing to like take my drugs a little bit earlier in a night of going out and be willing to stay up a little bit later. Cause usually I'm going to take it like still in the evenings, like when I'm going out to a rave or something.
Dude, it's just such a commitment when you take it that late. Like you really have to have things like somewhat planned out, or else it's like you're kind of screwing yourself over sleep-wise for a while. And I don't want to say the worst thing, but like one of the shittiest feelings in my opinion is when like you just want to go to sleep, but you're still tripping. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're super exhausted. Like,
dude, yeah, that calls to mind an acid trip I had back in 2019, I want to say. And it was a day trip. Like we took it like, I don't know, noon, maybe 1. Bro, I was up that entire night and I wasn't even tripping anymore. I just couldn't freaking sleep. And it was super shitty. I will say now, like a tool I have in my arsenal through some friends of mine is like taking Xanax if I want to sleep. And like I found even just like a quarter of a bar will really help me like power down if I want to sleep, but I can't quite get there myself, or I'd have to wait too long. And I haven't really experimented with like Xanax for like zeroing off on like acid trips yet. But from what I've heard, I think it would work. And, I got to try it.
Yeah. I talked about that in my how to prevent and handle bad trips, microdose episode. We'll link it below as well.
Yeah. That's a good kind of get out of jail free card if you need to, like, even if you're tripping too hard and you need to calm down. Definitely a good one. And like, that's the context that I know of Xanax about with regards to tripping. But now I've kind of like, I don't know, at this point I've only taken Xanax twice in my life, and both times it was like up all night, mostly a night of doing like K or Coke or something, or 2C, and just kind of helping me like power down and then actually get good quality sleep. Because when you're on one of these multi-day benders, like I still need good sleep. And if I'm just doing like a 4 or 5 hour like low quality sleep, like it's going to fuck me up the next night. Like I'll have nights where I'm just, no matter how many drugs I do, I don't feel them that much. And it's just because I'm tired and I'm like, it's slightly miserable. So,
Dude, so what was the non-skiing part?
Yeah, dude, the non-skiing part was the fact that this group that I went on this trip with, it's a group of like 20 like high functioning, successful degenerates. And there were a couple of realizations from this. I think number one is just that like the act of doing drugs and the prevalence of doing drugs is, I think, way wider than people give credit to. And like,
what do you mean? Like, it's like way more people do drugs than like you would think, or
exactly. And like, I think this is something that you and I have started encountering more and more in like our adult lives. But like for me, like I'm hanging out with like lawyers and doctors and surgeons and entrepreneurs, and like all of these people are doing drugs on the weekends pretty regularly.
Dude, straight up. Especially those people, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And granted, like, I know this doesn't just apply blanket to like everyone in those professions. Like there's definitely more like straight edge people, let's say, but it's just so much more common than I ever thought. You know, it's like growing up, starting to experiment with drugs. I'm like, oh, this is some like very like low key thing. Like not a lot of people do this. Nah, man, dude, so many fucking people do drugs in one capacity or another. Like it's really not as uncommon or like as big of a deal as you might think.
Damn.
So that was one realization. Then the other stories that came out of this were, so Friday night, this was before the blizzard, our entire group went out to dinner to that place right by the lodge. And we have a good dinner. And throughout the dinner, we're being goons. Like everyone's like giving each other ketamine, and like it's the US. It's not like in Mexico where you can kind of just do it out in the open, like you go to the bathroom and stuff.
Right.
But dude, it was awesome because I wore my cow onesie. So I was like, vibe.
Oh my god, of course you did.
Yeah, that was a vibe. And then underneath the cow onesie, I wore this t-shirt that is hilarious. This t-shirt literally made me the star of the group for that night. And it's a t-shirt that my buddy surprised me with when he came back to Colombia. And he was like, Yuki, we saw this t-shirt in a store. It made us think of you. So we had to buy it for you and gift it to you. And guess what the t-shirt says?
Oh god. Something about tripping?
Close. It says, it's ketamine, not cocaine.
Oh my god, that's like perfect. Just like, especially from Colombia.
Exactly. Just like plain black text on a white t-shirt.
Oh my god.
And that was the night where I was like fully on, like I was well rested, like I was being fed like ketamine and good drugs. And I was just like the freaking star of that party. It was awesome. Like Kalenzi was sick. And after the restaurant, at the restaurant, I'm also handing out our chocolate mushrooms to people because, again, all these people are fucking degenerates. And so as we're leaving, like the chocolate mushrooms start coming up for folks. I took a little bit, but not too much. And as we're leaving, like we're walking down the main street in Park City, which has like hundreds of people like lined up for restaurants, bars, whatever, because it's Friday night. And just like that, the power in the entire city just like goes out. Like the city goes black, like all the lights on the street, everything in the restaurants. No, there was no storm. This was Friday night. There was absolutely no storm. Clear night.
Oh shit.
Perfect weather. And like we were super lucky because this was right after we had left dinner and we had made a quick 7-Eleven pit stop to buy some provisions. And while we're in the 7-Eleven, like power was still on, but by that point, everyone was tripping pretty hard. And while we're waiting in line to check out, like we are like laughing uncontrollably.
Oh, shit. It's not even, oh man, that's sick.
And I felt like a little bad for the cashier lady. Like she was clearly not having it, but bro, we were just being such degenerates. Like it's so obvious that like we're on something, but it's like whatever. Like no one's gonna say anything. Like it is what it is. We're buying our shit at 7-Eleven and then we're getting out.
It's literally a 7-Eleven, bro. Like,
no, exactly.
The last time I walked into one of those sober. Like,
no, dead ass. Yeah. And so we're on our way home. The power goes out, and we're like, "Damn, this is like actually wild." Like, you know, there's people still in the restaurants. Like, there's still people in the bars that are packed with hundreds of people. And so we just go home, and luckily we have like some Bluetooth speakers that are battery powered. We make a little party to the extent that we can that night, and while we're partying, there was a girl in our group who I had gave some of the chocolate mushrooms to. And I found out that she's not very experienced with mushrooms. She's much more like a ketamine girly. And I also found out that she's legitimately scared of the dark. So
that's a thing? Damn.
Yeah.
But even on mushrooms where your eyes are dilated and like you have superhuman.
Dude, no, I mean, she's genuinely
vision.
like, I think it's like a from childhood thing, but like, I spent a
Okay.
good like 15, 20 minutes just like helping her cope and just being like, hey, like, here's what helps me with mushrooms because she's not super experienced. And like, like sip some
Right.
water and be like, hey, like you're safe, you're healthy, like there's light, there are people here. I was making sure like she was in comfortable situations. And I think I handled it pretty well. Like I did feel bad because it was like my mushrooms. I felt semi-responsible that I didn't know.
Dude, it's always like that when you're the one supplying.
Exactly. Yeah. But also it's like, how would I have known? Like she didn't tell me. Like she was like, oh yeah, I'll take some mushrooms.
Also, how are you going to know the power is going to go out? Like, what are the odds that literally the lights go out and she's scared of the dark, bro? Like,
that was so
and it's
unexpected.
not even storming that day.
That was so unexpected, dude.
You're at the club and the music is thumping, but you've got nothing left in the tank. So what do? Sniff some cacao. Yup, you heard that right. Sniff some cacao. It's the hottest new trend in the club and party scene. One bum-sized sniff of raw chocolatey powder contains the caffeine equivalent to a half cup of coffee, and boom, it hits instantly. And the best part is you can now sniff cacao anytime, anywhere. Right out in the open, in front of the DJ booth or the stage, even at the VIP table with your friends. Now, how does that happen without drawing unwanted attention? Snogo's spring-loaded bump straws make it possible. These classy, triple mirror polished bump straws are the safest, most discreet way to enjoy sniffing cacao. In fact, you've most likely already seen people wearing Snogo's bump straws as pendants around their necks without even knowing it. Discover why sniffing cacao using Snogo bump straws is being called the biggest revolution in partying since the invention of rock and roll. Jump on over to snogostraws.com to learn more. That's SNOGOSTRAWS.com and use discount code MDH15 at checkout for 15% off your entire order.
So I calm down my friend, things chill out. And then at some point, like I want to say like 3 to 4 hours later, the power comes back on. Obviously we're all cheering. Like we can use our like really nice speakers that we had rented and keep the party going. And dude, that night, like we just stayed up all night, like listening to music, talking. And the specific moment I remember that made me laugh so hard that I literally collapsed was one of my buddies who I got really close to. He was playing this song. He told me it's called Rodman. And there's this like really funny sound in the song that's like, whoop. It's like this really egregious sound. And I never heard the song before. And at some point I was across the room and I was like looking at him and he knows the song. And so as the whoop sound came on in perfect timing, he did this like pullback motion. And it was just so perfectly timed with the song and just the drugs I was on. Like I legitimately thought it was the funniest thing in my life. And so I am laughing so hard that I literally cannot stand. I collapse on the ground and some other people in the group who didn't see what happened, they're like, dude, are you okay? Are you okay? And like, I can't breathe, so I can't talk to tell them I'm okay, but I'm like trying to convey to them like how okay I am. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking fantastic. Like this is I'm just,
You're
like
more than okay.
I'm
Dude.
dying of laughter, but I am like absolutely on cloud 9 right now. So that was funny. And then that night, since I was wearing the cow onesie the entire night, someone mentioned, they're like, dude, there should be like a Chick-fil-A type of ad, but instead of eat more chicken, it's like cows for K.
That's so good.
Yeah. So someone like posted like a story of me and my cow onesie with the cows for K, and
especially with the shirt. That's so funny,
dude. No, it was honestly like a legendary night. Like the vibes were great. It was awesome with the power going out. Like that was a special night.
Dude, yeah, that's just
that
like you can't plan that type of shit.
No, exactly. Like that was truly like a special night. And that brings me to the final part of this, which is Saturday night. So, Saturday we have our acid day, blizzard on the mountain, like I mentioned. We get back and we start partying pretty early. And so this night we actually got our DJ decks working. Like we had brought like professional DJ decks and they were broken, but we got them working like good enough to actually use them. Nice. And so there's me and 2 other DJs and we just started DJing at like, I don't know, I want to say like 6 or 7 p.m. as people are like rolling back from dinner and just like back from their chill days. And so obviously we start doing drugs. And so that night I took a 2CB pill that a friend had brought. And I think what it made me realize.
Actual 2CB?
Yeah, presumably, yeah. And I didn't test it, but this is a friend who really knows his drugs. Like I do like trust that he
You
knows.
trust him. That's what matters.
Yeah. Like he's a burner. He's like, I don't know, probably like
okay.
40s or something. Like
Probably some good shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took the 2CB pill, and I think what I'm realizing is that 2CB is a fairly subtle experience. Like I definitely felt it, but it wasn't like as intense as like a very acute acid trip or something like that. But it made me energetic. Like it made me have like a lot of fun. And honestly, like DJing on 2CB was a fucking blast. Like
damn,
we're going like B2B. It's like, we're each doing like 2 to 3 songs. People are vibing, people are drinking, like the storm is raging outside and we're raging inside. And it was a great time. Like we're playing some pretty like heavy tech house and bass house and stuff. But then at one point I start doing ketamine, and I remember this moment where I'm like about to transition into a new song. And at that exact moment, like the ketamine fucking slaps me across the face and I just become useless. I'm like, this transition's going to suck, but there's nothing I can do about it. And so I do it, and it's fine. Like it was not good, but also like no one cares that much. And so I told one of the other DJs, I'm like, don't let me hop back on the decks for at least 30 minutes because I can't do this. Damn. And so like,
I wish you were aware of it.
No, exactly. Yeah. And for some reason, like I had done the same ketamine both the night before when the power went out and this night, but I feel like it put me into completely different mindsets. Like on the night before, it was very like fun, outgoing. Like I was feeling really good. This time, maybe it was like starting from the state of the 2CB. I feel like it put me into a polar opposite state of mind. Like when I was just on the 2CB, I was very like energetic. I was like having fun. Like I was feeling awake, energetic. But I think it was because I was so tired. I had literally slept 2 hours the night before because we were staying up late partying. That
makes a lot of sense.
And then I wanted to get up early to catch the first lift. And so I took the ketamine, and it just put me on my ass. I was like, I realized how sore like my body was from like 3 days of pretty intense skiing. I realized how like tired and exhausted I was. And at that point I was like, I took some time in like the kind of attached like living room to where we were DJing, just like chilling on the couch, which was all right. But I was like, man, I'm tired. And it kind of felt like we were all chasing the dragon from the night before. Like the night before was truly felt magical. And so at some point I vocalized this to one of my buddies, and he's like, yeah, like I definitely feel that. Like the vibes last night were 11 out of 10. And it's not that they weren't good like this second night, but it just wasn't the same. And so like just vibes wise alone, we were really chasing that dragon, looking for that. And then the rest of that night, I was like the same energy of music that we had been DJing and playing. Like I just wasn't able to listen to it anymore. Like it was too aggressive, and I was very in like a very emotional musical mood. I'm like, just gonna play some chill, like some Afro House, some Ben Bomer, some Odessa, some like more like in my feels,
some hip hop
kind of shit. Yeah,
some chill ass hip hop.
No, dead ass. Yeah. And so at some point, I'm still sticking around, just like trying to socialize best I can. And then I think around 2-3 a.m., like the main DJ gets like really tired, and she's like, all right, I haven't been DJing for a long time. Like, let me take a break. And it's me and the other guy. And the other guy got way too high. And so he also had to like excuse himself for DJing. But by that point,
what was he on?
Just on weed. Like, I think he just ripped the dab super hard.
That would make it pretty difficult.
Yeah. And so that was great because by that point, like the ketamine had worn off, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to DJ again. And it was late enough in the night where like everyone I think had gotten their fill of really like intense, energetic music. They were super down for my chill vibes. And dude, I think I was DJing until like 5 a.m. Just like really chill, good vibes. People loved my shit, and it was just such we're going until super late, and a decent amount of people like stuck around, didn't go to bed until like literally like 5-6 a.m. when we all did. And it was a great way to end the trip. And then again, slept a couple hours, and then the next day I was just traveling back home the whole time, and that was a little bit rough, but now I'm home.
Did y'all fly or drive?
Oh, flew.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't a direct flight, and like there were some complications with like the blizzard and the storm. Like, there's a lot of shit that went into it. But yeah, that was the non-skiing part of the trip. And all that to say, like, when you get a good group of people together and some drugs that these people like know how to use enough to not become a liability. Like most people in the group are very responsible with their drug usage and they're very experienced. Like, it was just a blast, dude. I was like, it just reminded me of like my birthday party and just this concept of like having like what my friends call a mansion party, which is a term I have now adopted. That like, dude, those are my favorite kinds of parties. Like, I'm not big on like
Mansion
going out
parties?
or
What does
stuff.
that even mean?
It's literally like exactly what I did for my birthday. Like, you just get an
Oh,
Airbnb for a
shit.
weekend,
Okay.
just have a bunch of friends over and just do a bunch of drugs, do whatever you want. Just like have a good time, like not going anywhere, but being usually in like a non-home house, like Airbnb or something. So
Yeah.
that's my vibe.
I agree.
Dude.
Those are the best parties. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm trying to do more of that shit this year and going forward. I'm like, I feel like I got at least 2 more scheduled this year, and I'm just gonna keep adding more to the itinerary.
Let's fucking go. Damn, dude, that sounds like a fucking badass Park City trip though. Like, that's a fucking vibe.
Yeah, no, dude. And it was funny actually. Like while we were driving to Park City, we drove past that neighborhood where you and I
That we
lived
lived in?
during COVID.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I was like, I forgot the name of it, but we drove by. I recognized the gas
memory,
station.
dude.
I'm like, yeah, like we used to live
Oh,
here.
that one
for, like,
gas
a
station. I
month.
know exactly what you're talking about. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. And
Damn,
of
that must
course,
have been nostalgic as fuck.
yeah, exactly. And seeing the cabin too. It was funny. It also reminded me like how much trouble we had getting alcohol when we were living there. Cause in Utah, just like the hours that like all the liquor stores are state owned, they have like the weirdest hours. And
Right.
like obviously
Yeah, they have
I
strict laws over there.
yeah, definitely. Like obviously I don't drink, but like pretty much everyone else in the group did. And so they went through a lot of alcohol, a lot of booze. I'm still doing like daily runs. And dude, funny enough, like at some point when we were at that bar for dinner next to the cabin, I went up to the bar to just get like a glass of water. And I saw that like when they pour mixed drinks, like when the bartenders pour the mixed drinks in Utah, they have to grab the bottle and put it on this like almost this like keychain leash thing that's like tied to the bar.
Oh, really?
So that I guess you can't like take it off of the bar and like pour it into people's mouths. And also they're super
Oh,
strict.
shoot.
Like they will measure out how much liquor is in a mixed drink, like to the exact ounce. Like they have like a measuring cup basically, and they will never put in more than that because that is also like a law. Whereas like anywhere else in the US, you know, they'll just kind of eyeball it, and
Right.
if they like you, they'll give you like a extra splash or two.
Damn, that's wild. I didn't realize it was that strict, but I guess we didn't really drink much when we were there.
I mean,
I don't even remember drinking at all.
I feel like we drank a lot, but it was all at home. Like we just buy booze, and
I remember buying the liquor, but like maybe I don't remember drinking because we drink so much. I don't know. That was a long time ago, man. Like neither you or I drink.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when we had that like field day? We played all those drinking games, and we had the formal like in our house.
No, you're right. No, we definitely did drink a lot. I do remember that. Yeah,
We got
that was
pretty
sick.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that was awesome. Good time,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, dude,
Good
I
times.
blacked out that night super hard. That's why I don't remember.
Oh, fair. I will say my fondest memory from that though is your crunch wraps, bro.
Oh yeah, dude, those were fucking good. Damn, I need to make some more of those for y'all.
Dude, you got to get back on the crunch wrap game. Those things went hard.
Oh yeah. Damn, maybe we'll put out the recipe one day or something.
Dude, low key. MDH cookbook, stoner and high snacks and food.
Dude, honestly, not a bad idea. One day, once we get into the merch game and stuff.
Yeah, no, that'd
Be
be
one of our
pretty funny.
things.
I'm sure there's like stoner specific cookbooks out there. I'm curious if you could do stuff like that for other drugs, because I don't think it's just me that doesn't like to eat that much on drugs. Like, especially with like when I'm snorting drugs, like the drip running down my throat, it gets it dry. I'm like, if I'm
Right.
tasting like ketamine in the back of my throat, like I can barely get food down.
Dude, yeah, if I'm snorting something, then like I'm not really trying to eat. The only thing I'm really trying to do is like hit a vape or something just to mask the drip. Like I don't even like vapes like that.
Yeah. No, I feel you. All right, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yep, it was, man. I'm glad you had a good trip, dude. And that's today's pod. Peace.
You've been listening to Modern Day Hippie. As you exit the portal, we have just one small ask of you. If you learned something new today, had a laugh, or resurfaced a drug story of your own, we want to hear about it. Drop us a comment on YouTube and show us some love on your favorite podcasting platforms. Internet algorithms really dog on us because of the topics that we discuss, so your support goes even further here than you might think. We'll catch you next week.